Greetings, everybody. It's RPG Grandma, and we're moving on to aerial warfare. So let's see what the rules have to tell us about that. There are various types of standardized flyers considered for purposes of these rules. Edgar Rice Burroughs mentions many other kinds and varieties which can be added if desired. Flyers will be treated in two ways. Large flyers will be dealt with assuming the 1 to 50 scale, while small ones will be treated assuming the 1 to 1 scale. Ignored entirely in the 1 to 50 games. The actual scale of flyer models used would be about 1 to 1,200th for the larger ones and 1/200th for the small ones. For ease of play, crew rosters should be maintained with a side note as to the damage sustained by the flyer itself. All right, so we got a lot of information actually in that paragraph. So they're talking about the battle scale first, which is that 1 to 1 or 1 to 50, like you saw in the land troops, okay? So 1 to 1 is that individual, and 1 to 50 is, your mass combat, your fleets, right? So this is imagining lots of ships that the one ship represents. All right. The second group of numbers, the 1,200th and the 1/200th scale, is like you see in regular models, 1/72nd, 1/35th. This is giving you that 1 inch equals so much. Now, I did a little research because I thought, 1 to 1,200 scale, that's a lot. And what does that look like? And what models, what are you looking at? That happens to be the size of a lot of warfare naval ships. So like, if you put that number in, 1, and then do a slash, and then 1/200, and put models, you're going to pull up models for naval warfare. So that is the scale that they decided to use, which is probably a direct import from naval games. Then they tell you need a crew roster, so you need to know who's on the ship, what they're doing, probably because, if an area of the ship gets hit and there's casualties, who might die, right? And then you have to have a way to track damage to the ship itself as well. So these are all things you need to keep in mind when you start your aerial warfare. Now, do I think this aerial warfare would have gone through some changes if the game had continued to progress? Yes, I think so. But we're going to proceed as if this was 1974 and we were seeing this game for the first time, and hot dang, we are going to play it. Yeah, in stages, because I'll have to make little teeny tiny ships. Anyway, moving on. Movement for your aerial combat. Movement can be either simultaneous with written orders or on a move-counter-move basis. If the latter method is adopted, there will be a difference in the firing procedure. See firing. And then we have a chart. This gives us speed and type of flyer. So what we're looking at here is the maximum speed the flyer does. So a super battleship travels 5 1/2 inches. A battleship, 6 inches. A battle cruiser, 6 1/2 inches. A cruiser, 7 inches. A light cruiser, 7 1/2 inches. A scout cruiser, 8 inches. A large scout, 8 1/2 inches. Gotta turn the page, gotta turn the page. I'm all Butterfingers today. A small scout, 9 inches. A heavy transport, 5 inches. And a light transport, 7 inches. Small flyers used only for 1-to-1. So that's your scouts. All the scouts had the little note. Okay, how to climb. Climb requires 1 inch of movement for every 1/2 inch of climb. So it's that kind of move. Maximum angle of climb is 1/2 inch altitude for every 2 inches ahead. Ceiling. Due to the thin atmosphere of Barsoom, the maximum altitude is 3,000 yards, 3 inches. Placing the flyers on altitude blocks in thicknesses of 1/2 inch is ideal for indicating height. So I'll have to make those. Dive. Diving gains 1/2 inch of additional movement for every 1/2 inch of altitude descent. Maximum angle of dive is 1/2 inch for every 2 inches ahead. Turns. Turns are possible only at the end of movement, allowing changes up to 45 degrees. Exception. When going into battle, 6 or more flyers can maneuver so as to form a Barsoomian circle, providing they are within normal movement distance of each other. This configuration is circular with approximately 1/2 to 1 inch between the flyers. The flyers can fly in a circular fashion as long as the formation is maintained. Note, flyer speeds are based on 1 inch equaling 1,000 yards and 1 turn equaling 1 minute. This does not readily convert to ground actions as previously mentioned, even at greatly reduced speeds. For this reason, a separate section which amalgamates the two systems is given later. I cannot say that word. I know what it means. I just can't say it. Not today. It's been a week. But so here you see that we've got like games within games. Anybody who's played any kind of old school games will be familiar with all sorts of funky little rules that aren't streamlined. And that's what you're seeing here. So you just have to be patient with it. We will play through it. Obviously, I'm going to have to build a bunch of stuff, so not something I'm going to be doing tomorrow, obviously. And see how these rules work for aerial combat, because I have not done the aerial combat stuff at all. So this is kind of fun. And then that's when you see what works and what doesn't work. This is what everybody has to do when they have a first edition game of any kind, even today, even with new mechanics. There is always something missing, something unclear, something they meant to change but forgot to edit out, etc. It's just the way it is. Page gets left out, a chart is missing. It just, despite everyone's best efforts, it just happens. All right, so there will be more to come, and we get into guns and bombs and miniature figures and all kinds of stuff on aerial combat. See you guys later. Bye.